Zimbabwe must choose peace, unity and development. Mass national protests have coincided with prolonged civil conflict. History shows that periods of widespread instability can have severe economic, social, and humanitarian consequences. The opposition has consistently relied on a strategy of promoting narratives of violence and instability in Zimbabwe. This approach seeks to portray the country as being in perpetual crisis, thereby misleading the international community, undermining investor confidence, discouraging tourism, and damaging the nation's image. Zimbabweans must remain vigilant against any attempts to manipulate public perception through misinformation and politically motivated narratives. International Monetary Fund, IMF, projecting 6% economic growth in 2025 in the Zimbabwe's economy also ranged top in Africa's fastest-growing economy, supported by improved agricultural output, favorable commodity prices, and increased investment prospects in strategic sectors such as lithium, iron and steel. The agricultural sector is also expanding towards the government's $13.75 billion economy target through increased wheat production, horticulture, and climate-smart farming initiatives. Against this backdrop, protests do not reflect the aspirations of the majority of Zimbabweans, who are focused on economic growth, stability, and development. The demonstrations are driven by the interests of a small group rather than the broader population. The main question is why, if protest leaders believe demonstrations are the solution, they are often not leading from the front alongside those they encourage to take to the streets. It is time for us, as Zimbabweans, to tell our own story and shape the future of our country according to our own aspirations and priorities. We must have confidence in our ability to determine our national destiny, safeguard our sovereignty, and pursue development in a manner that reflects the interests of our people. Rather than allowing others to define Zimbabwe through external narratives, we should continue working together to build a peaceful, prosperous, and united nation for present and future generations. It is time for us, as Zimbabweans, to say no to protests and yes to peace, unity, and economic development. Zimbabwe is on a path towards stability and growth, and we should not allow ourselves to be drawn into actions that could undermine our country's progress. So that foreign interests seek to portray Zimbabwe as undemocratic in order to advance their own strategic objectives. We have witnessed the devastating consequences of prolonged conflict in countries such as Libya, where years of instability followed the collapse of the state. As Zimbabweans, we must remain united and committed to protecting our sovereignty, preserving peace, and ensuring that our natural resources benefit our own people. Zimbabwe's future lies not in division and instability, but in peace, unity, sovereignty, and sustainable economic development for the benefit of present and future generations. And say no to protest. Zimbabwe is set to peaceful and economic growth. We will not be forced to fight against each as intended by the foreign powers for them to stamp that the Zimbabwe is not democratic so that in the process of fighting each other they loot our natural resources like they did in Libya. This message is brought to you by 𝐏𝐞𝐚𝐜𝐿.